The frost hadn't melted yet when Mia Callahan took her usual morning route through the tree line behind her cabin. Montana's late winter was cruel, but the silence suited her. It was the only place she didn't flinch at shadows. Her boots crunched along the snowy path as Rex, her German shepherd, trotted ahead with ears perked, nose twitching. He was never just walking. Rex was always searching. Mia had served 2 tours in Afghanistan. There were scars, some deep, some silent. The VA had called it PTSD, but she knew better. It wasn't just the war that haunted her. It was something before that, something she couldn't name. Rex stopped abruptly. His body stiffened. Then, without warning, he lunged left, off trail and into the thickets. Mia's heart kicked up. "Rex!" No response, only the sound of brush snapping under his paws. She chased after him, branches scratching at her face, until the trees opened up to a clearing she didn't know existed. There it stood, a weather-worn log cabin, roof sagging, windows clouded with grime. It was tucked so deep into the forest she would have never found it on her own. Rex stood frozen at the porch steps, tail low, growl simmering deep in his chest. Mia approached slowly. The air here felt wrong, thick, heavy. The front door creaked open as if expecting her. Inside, the air was stale. Dust danced in the shafts of light piercing through broken blinds. The place had been abandoned for years, except it wasn't. On the far wall, above a scorched fireplace, hung a photo. Mia stopped breathing. It was her. She stood in full combat gear, blood on her left sleeve, a child blurred in the background. The photo was old, definitely from Kandahar, but she had no memory of it being taken. Below the photo, tacked with yellowed pushpins, were several more. Some were surveillance-style shots of her cabin, her car in the driveway, even one of her sleeping on the porch with Rex curled beside her. She stumbled back, bile rising. Someone had been watching her. For years. "Rex," she whispered. The shepherd walked to the corner and pawed at the floorboards. Mia followed and noticed a trap door, the handle rusted shut. With effort, she pried it open. The smell hit first, musty, metallic. She descended a few steps, Rex at her side. It wasn't a basement, it was a holding room. Soundproof panels lined the walls. Old 4 stands rested in the corner. A stained cot sat beneath a heat lamp. On the cot was a folded military blanket with her last name embroidered on it. Callahan, she hadn't seen that issued gear since her last mission in 2012. The one that never made it to her debrief file. The one no one ever talked about. Rex growled low again and stood guard at the stairs, hackles raised. Then she heard it, footsteps crunching outside. Someone was approaching. Mia's fingers reached for the holster at her side out of reflex, only to remember she hadn't carried since the day she left the army. She looked at Rex. He met her eyes. There was no fear in his, just readiness. And then, the footsteps stopped. A shadow passed by the window, pausing just long enough for her to catch a glimpse of a shape. Tall, heavy coat, unmarked cap. Whoever it was didn't knock. They just left something at the door. REX bolted up the stairs first. Mia followed, heart racing. She opened the door. No one. Only a small metal box, sealed shut, with a red sticker labeled, "Property of Operation Ghost Trail." Her blood ran cold. That name hadn't crossed her mind in over a decade. It was the last operation she was ever part of. Classified, buried, supposed to have been erased, and yet, here it was, sitting on her doorstep like a gift. Rex nudged the box with his nose, then looked up at her. "What the hell is going on?" she whispered. For the first time in years, the silence around her didn't feel safe. It felt like a trap, and Rex had just led her right into the middle of it. Mia sat on her porch steps, the metal box heavy in her hands, its weight more psychological than physical. Rex sat beside her, his head pressed lightly against her knee. He wasn't whining or pacing. He was waiting, like he knew whatever was inside that box would change everything. Her fingers hovered over the latch. She'd opened explosive kits in worse conditions, diffused roadside bombs under sniper fire, but this felt more dangerous. Because this wasn't war, this was personal. Click. The latch gave way. Inside were only two things: a dog tag, military issue, scorched around the edges, and a worn cassette tape wrapped in a transparent evidence bag. The tag read, Jason T. Klein, USMC. Mia's stomach turned. Jason Klein had been her team's tech specialist. He went missing during the final raid of Operation Ghost Trail. The report had claimed he was KIA, killed in an airstrike. No remains recovered. No funeral. No closure. She pulled the cassette from the bag, flipping it in her hands. On one side, in shaky black marker, for Callahan, trust no one. There was only one place left with a tape player, her dad's old Jeep, rotting in the garage. Rex stayed glued to her side as she pushed open the rusted door. The scent of oil and pine dust filled the air. She slid into the passenger seat and inserted the tape into the dusty stereo, praying it still worked. A click. Static. Then, Callahan, if you're hearing this, it means I didn't make it out. Or maybe I did, and I'm just not who I was anymore. Either way, they lied to you. They lied to all of us. Mia froze. Klein's voice was hollow, like someone recording from a dark room, fear lacing every word. Operation Ghost Trail wasn't a drug sting. It wasn't even domestic. It was a test, on us, on civilians, on children. Static broke the next few seconds, then the tape continued. They used K-9 units to deliver the payloads. We didn't know. We thought we were finding chemical weapons. We were distributing them. Mia's heart pounded so loud she almost missed the next part. I have evidence, names, documents. It's not on the cloud. Too risky. It's buried. The cabin, yeah, the one near Brush Creek. You remember it. If you found the photo, then you're close. But they're watching, always, especially the dog. If you have the dog, he's your only chance. The tape cut off. No goodbye, no signature, just silence. Mia leaned back, stunned. Her mind raced through the possibilities. Could Klein be alive? Could this all be true? Or was this just the rambling of a paranoid man who had seen too much for too long? Then she remembered the surveillance photos, the military blanket, the cot. She looked down at Rex. He stared back, eyes locked onto hers, unwavering. You were there, she whispered. You were part of it. But Rex didn't flinch. Instead, he stood, turned toward the trees, and barked, a sharp, singular sound. Mia stepped out of the Jeep, heart still thudding. From the tree line, a black SUV rolled slowly down her gravel driveway. It stopped just short of the porch. The window rolled down. A woman in a tailored black coat leaned out. Miss Callahan, she said smoothly, flashing a badge. I'm Agent Duval with Homeland Security. We received a tip you may have stumbled upon restricted government property. Mia didn't move. I didn't call anyone. Duval smiled politely, but her eyes didn't. Mind if we take a look around? Before Mia could answer, Rex stepped between her and the SUV, teeth bared, low growl vibrating from his chest. Duval's driver reached for something under the seat. Don't, Mia warned. Duval raised her hand slightly. Easy. We just want to ask a few questions. Mia crossed her arms, voice firm. Then get a warrant. Duval's smile faded. We'll be back. The SUV reversed, tires crunching slow and deliberate against gravel. Rex didn't stop growling until the vehicle disappeared past the pines. Mia turned and looked back toward the cabin. Something inside her cracked. Maybe trust, maybe the illusion of safety. But whatever it was It was gone now. She knew what came next. She had to go back to that place near Brush Creek. She had to find the truth, because someone had turned her service, her loyalty, into a weapon. And now they were hunting the one dog who might expose them. "Let's move," she said. Rex barked once, and just like that, the war she thought she'd left behind had come home. The road to Brush Creek wound through the dense woods like a scar, forgotten and overgrown. Mia's jeep rattled over potholes and gravel, her grip white-knuckled on the steering wheel. Rex sat alert in the passenger seat, eyes fixed ahead, ears twitching with every rustle beyond the tree line. She hadn't been back here in years. The cabin had belonged to her late uncle, a reclusive Vietnam vet who rarely spoke, but always watched. He had willed the property to her when she was still deployed overseas. She hadn't thought about it since, until now. The cassette played in her mind again and again. "They're watching, especially the dog. If you have the dog, he's your only chance." She glanced at Rex. Was it possible he had been part of that mission? Was he trained beyond what she could imagine? A sudden movement on the road made her slam the brakes. A buck dashed across, hooves kicking up dust. She cursed under her breath, but Rex remained steady, gaze still locked forward. Brush Creek cabin came into view a minute later. It was more rundown than she remembered. The porch sagged, the roof patched with mismatched shingles. Nature had started to reclaim it. As she stepped out, Rex jumped from the jeep and immediately began sniffing the perimeter, tail rigid. Mia scanned the area. No tire tracks, no recent footprints. But something felt off, too quiet, even for the woods. She walked up the steps. They creaked loudly under her boots. The front door was locked, but she still had the key hidden under the third plank on the left, exactly where her uncle used to stash it. She slid it into the knob. The door groaned open. Dust coated everything. Faded curtains hung like torn sails. The air was stale, but not abandoned. She moved slowly, hand on her holstered pistol. Rex entered behind her, nose twitching. The fireplace mantel held framed photos, her uncle in uniform, his unit, and one that nearly made Mia drop her weapon. It was a photo of Klein, with her uncle. They were laughing, beer bottles in hand, arms slung around each other like old friends. Her head spun. How had they known each other? She moved toward the back room, the one that had always been off-limits when she was a kid. Rex suddenly growled low, then pushed ahead, body tense. The door to the back room was ajar. Inside was a war room. Maps, photographs, red string connecting dots pinned into corkboards. There were files, military reports, dossiers, and surveillance images. At the center of it all was a photo. Her, taken from a rooftop. She snatched it down, heart pounding. The timestamp was 3 days ago. Someone had been watching her. Then she saw it, a folder labeled Operation Echo Strike Declassified. She opened it. Inside were field reports that confirmed everything Klein had said. Civilian test zones, chemical dispersal units hidden in military supply drops, and a unit list, Jason Klein. Confirmed MIA, David Whitaker. Status, unknown. Rex K97 Delta. Handler, Klein. Mia felt her breath catch. Handler, Klein! Rex had been Klein's dog, but before she could process more, Rex barked sharply and lunged toward the front window. A black drone hovered just outside. Mia ducked instinctively as the drone shattered the window with a burst of noise and retreated. Smoke hissed into the room. Gas. "Tear gas!" she shouted, grabbing the files and shoving them into her backpack. She clipped a makeshift leash onto Rex's collar and ran. The cabin's back door blew open with a heavy kick. 2 men in tactical black gear stormed in. No insignias, no hesitation. Mia fired twice, striking one in the vest, sending him backward. The other dove for cover. She kicked over a table, flipped it for makeshift cover, and shouted, "Rex, down!" But Rex did the opposite. He darted forward, teeth bared, and tackled the second intruder, pinning him to the floor with a violent growl. Mia moved in, gun aimed. She yanked off the man's mask. Young, probably early 30s. Mouth blooded. "Who sent you?" She barked. The man only grinned. "You're not supposed to exist." He coughed. Rex barked savagely. A ping from her backpack. Her phone, somehow activated. She yanked it out. No signal. But a GPS dot blinked on screen. She didn't set that. Her eyes darted back to the wounded man. "You tagged me." He smirked. "They already know where you're going. You'll lead them right to it." Mia knocked him out with the butt of her pistol. She looked at Rex, who had blood around his mouth and a fire in his eyes that hadn't been there yesterday. "You knew," she said, voice hoarse. Rex looked back at her like he was waiting. Not for approval, for orders. She picked up the gear, yanked the SIM card from her phone, crushed it underfoot. "We're not going back home," she said. "We're going to finish what they started." Rex gave one short bark. She glanced once more at the ruined cabin, then sprinted back toward the jeep, Rex bounding beside her. In the rearview mirror, black smoke rose from the cabin. They had just burned her past, but she was about to burn down their future. The wind sliced through the pines like a whisper of warning as Mia pulled off the road, tires crunching over gravel. They were miles outside Signal Ridge now, heading deep into the unmonitored backwoods. It was the kind of place that didn't show up on GPS, the kind of place meant to be forgotten. Rex sat upright in the passenger seat, staring through the windshield, his ears stiff and forward like radar. He had been unusually still since the attack at the cabin, but Mia knew better. He was waiting, watching, calculating. Mia parked beside a crumbling fence and got out. The air carried the smell of cold earth and damp leaves. Ahead was a narrow hunting trail choked with brush. According to the old notes she'd pulled from her uncle's files, this path led to a bunker once used for survivalist training back in the 70s. It was off the books, and, more importantly, off-grid. She hoisted her pack, checked the pistol at her side, and glanced down at Rex. "Lead the way, buddy." He took off at a trot, nose close to the ground. Mia followed, heart pounding. Her mind kept circling back to the photo, her and Klein, a rooftop angle that no civilian should have had access to. The only explanation was that someone inside the system had been watching her long before this started. After half an hour of hiking through brush and icy puddles, Rex stopped. He sniffed the base of a fallen birch tree and pawed at the dirt. Mia stepped forward, knelt, and brushed away leaves. A handle. She yanked it. The trapdoor groaned open, revealing a ladder descending into darkness. No turning back now. They climbed down. The air inside was thick with mildew and rust, but surprisingly, the lights flickered on when she found the breaker. The bunker was bigger than she expected. Several rooms, most filled with dusty supplies, canned food, and emergency gear. But the far room was different. Mia stopped in the doorway. Rex stood at her side, tail rigid. A large monitor sat in the center of the room, still glowing. The system was active. Someone had been here recently. She stepped in cautiously. There were surveillance feeds on screen, live footage. Her breath caught. One showed the street outside her apartment. Another showed the veterinary clinic where she'd taken Rex for his chip scan. Another was the interior of the cabin before it burned. They had been watching her for weeks, maybe longer. She tapped keys on the terminal, bypassing firewalls left by whoever had accessed it last. She found archived logs, video files, coded documents, military debriefs. One stood out, titled Echo Strike, Final Asset Review. She clicked it. A grainy video played. Klein stood in a field, wind blowing through tall grass. His face was bruised, and a deep scar ran along his jaw. Behind him, Rex sat calmly, eyes locked on the camera. Klein spoke. "If you're seeing this, it means I didn't make it. And it means they found you, Mia." Her knees buckled slightly. "I didn't leave the military because I was done. I left because I knew. Project Echo Strike was supposed to be a defense protocol. They turned it into something else. Human trials. Behavioral control through neurochemical targeting. You were part of it too, even if they told you otherwise." He paused. Rex remembers. He always did. They tried to wipe him, but they didn't know what kind of bond we had. If he found you, that means it's time. Rex whined low, his body pressed close to her leg. Klein continued. "You'll need to go to the Red Line facility. There's a hard drive hidden there, proof of everything. Olivia Reyes knows how to get in. You'll find her in Houston, if she's still alive." Then the screen went black. Mia sat there, motionless. Proof of unethical experiments, a facility nobody talked about. And Olivia Reyes, another ghost from the past. She remembered Olivia vaguely from joint operations in Iraq. Sharp, no nonsense, but kind. Rumor was she'd been forced out for speaking up about black ops involving civilians. Nobody had seen her since. Mia stood and turned to Rex. "You led me here for a reason." Rex stared up at her with that deep, unwavering look, a look that felt more like a conversation than a glance. Suddenly, a mechanical noise echoed from above. Rex's ears perked. Mia grabbed her gun and flicked off the light. The monitors dimmed, and they moved silently towards the ladder. A shadow passed over the trapdoor. Someone was here. Mia flattened against the wall, finger on the trigger. She could hear footsteps. 2, maybe 3. The trapdoor creaked. Then silence. Then a gas canister clattered down the ladder. Mia shouted, "Gas!" and pulled Rex into the far corridor. Smoke erupted, thick and blinding. She strapped on her emergency mask, one she found in the supply locker earlier. Rex buried his muzzle into her side, eyes watering but pressing forward. Gunshots echoed from above. The attackers weren't just here to scare her. They meant to bury her. She led Rex through a service tunnel branching off from the far end of the bunker. According to a blueprint she'd scanned earlier, it ran half a mile and exited near an old ranger station. They moved fast. Behind them, an explosion rocked the bunker. Flames lit the tunnel entrance. Dirt rained down from the ceiling. They didn't stop. 10 minutes later, gasping and covered in soot, Mia burst through the hatch at the other end. They rolled into the forest, coughing. The sky was turning pink with early morning light. Mia sat up, chest heaving. She turned to Rex, who sat alert but shaking, his paw slightly bloodied. She reached out, hand trembling. "You saved us again." Rex nudged her chin, just once, then turned his gaze back toward the trail. There was no going back now. Mia checked her pack. The files were still there. So was the map to Red Line. "Houston next," she whispered. Rex barked once. Then they vanished into the trees. Houston was already a furnace by the time Mia arrived. The city sweltered beneath a humid blanket of sun and smog, but none of it touched the cold knot tightening in her chest. She had used a series of burner phones, changed cars twice, and hadn't slept since the ambush at the bunker. Rex sat beside her in the passenger seat, head on her lap, his warm breath grounding her. She had one name, one shot, Olivia Reyes. The last traceable address was in a run-down neighborhood near the industrial district. Mia pulled up to a faded duplex with boarded windows and an overgrown yard. Rex leapt out the moment she opened the door, sniffing the perimeter before circling back. "Smell anything?" He huffed quietly, tail twitching. Not danger, but something familiar. Mia knocked. No answer. She knocked again, louder. A curtain twitched upstairs. "Olivia?" she called. "It's Mia Larson, from the 2nd Battalion, Camp Ironclad." A beat passed, then the sound of multiple locks clicking. The door opened a crack. A woman peeked through, hair streaked with silver, dark eyes scanning like radar. Her voice was wary. "How do I know you're not one of them?" Mia stepped back. "Because I almost died in a bunker in Colorado 2 days ago, and your name was in a dying man's last video. A man who said you knew where to find the truth." A pause. Then the door opened fully. Olivia had changed. The sharpness was still there, but it was buried under layers of survival. Fatigue, suspicion, grit. She wore jeans, a faded tank top, and a Glock at her hip. "Come in," she said. "Both of you." Inside was sparse but organized. Weapons hung on the walls, next to maps and grainy satellite photos. Rex sniffed once, then laid down by the door, his head still raised, eyes alert. "I figured this day would come," Olivia said. "Sit, talk." Mia explained everything. Rex's appearance, Klein's death, the hidden files, the attempted ambush. Olivia didn't flinch, but her fingers tapped against the table, a subtle tell. "They're cleaning house," she said. "Anyone who touched Project Echo Strike is being erased. Klein must have found something." Mia pulled the map from her pack. "He said the hard drive's in a place called Red Line. He didn't say what it was." Olivia's jaw tightened. Red Line is a ghost site, built under the guise of disaster preparedness, but used for classified neurobehavioral trials. Off-the-book science. Everything from memory wipes to emotional reconditioning. They started using dogs for scent enhancement programs. Rex was likely part of that. Mia looked at Rex, who still lay quietly, listening. "He wasn't just trained, he was altered," Olivia said. "But he remembers. That's why they want him gone." Mia leaned forward. "Can we get in?" "There's only one way. A back entry through an old train tunnel, sealed years ago. I've been there once. Barely made it out." "We'll make it this time," Mia said. Olivia didn't answer immediately. Instead, she crossed to a drawer and pulled out a black lanyard with a chipped keycard. "If you're going, you'll need this." Mia took it. Their eyes met. "When do we leave?" Olivia asked. "Tonight." At 2:14 a.m., they parked outside an abandoned railway yard 30 miles south of the city. The tunnel entrance was blocked by a rusted gate, its lock severed long ago. Weeds grew up between the tracks, and the surrounding woods were thick and wet with dew. "This place is crawling with sensors now," Olivia warned, adjusting her pack. "But if we stick to the blind zones, we'll make it halfway before they even know we're in." Mia nodded. "What about the other half?" "We improvise." Rex moved ahead, silent as a shadow. They passed through the gate and descended into the dark. The tunnel swallowed them whole. It was colder underground, damp and echoing. The floor sloped gently downward, and Olivia led them around collapsed beams and old carts left to rot. After 20 minutes, she stopped. A motion sensor hung from the ceiling. "Go low," she whispered. They crawled beneath it. The air felt heavier now. As they neared the service door, Mia heard it, a soft hum. Power. Red Line was still active. Suddenly, Rex growled low in his throat. "What is it?" Mia whispered. He darted forward. Ahead, a figure stood in the shadows, arms raised. "Don't shoot," he said. "I'm with you." Olivia froze. "Connor?" He stepped into the light, a tall man, maybe mid-40s, scar across his forehead. "I saw you in Houston. I followed. Figured you'd be coming here." "Why?" Mia asked. "Because I built the firewall that kept Echo Strike hidden, and I tore it down 3 weeks ago. They're coming for me too." "Why now?" Olivia demanded. Connor looked down at Rex. "Because the data Klein smuggled out wasn't just proof. It was access. The drive doesn't just hold evidence, it holds the shutdown command." Mia stared. "What do you mean, shut down?" I mean, if you plug that drive into Redline's mainframe, it'll force a system-wide wipe and kill the off-site backups. The entire operation disappears. Olivia turned to Mia. That's why they're hunting you. You're the last link. Footsteps echoed in the tunnel. Time's up, Connor said. You want a shot at ending this? Follow me. They ran. As they reached the inner perimeter, floodlights flared. Alarms blared. Rex lunged at a figure in the dark, dragging the man down before he could fire. Gunfire erupted behind them. Mia didn't look back. They had one chance, and Rex was already leading the charge. They broke into Redline through a side hatch barely wider than a manhole, guided by Connor's memory and Rex's nose. Inside it smelled of copper, mildew, and power. The concrete corridors were lined with flickering panels, many dead, some blinking a sluggish red like tired eyes. Security here is legacy tech, Connor said, wiping sweat off his brow. If we stay under their EM threshold, we can move 5 more levels before they notice. Mia glanced at Rex. The dog was locked in. Every paw step silent, every ear twitching. He was their shadow scout. We split up, Olivia suggested. Connor and I head to the server banks. Mia, you and Rex follow the vent tunnel to control and prep the access port. Plug the drive in only when we signal. Mia hesitated. You sure? Olivia nodded. Rex knows the scent paths. He'll lead you. The split was surgical. Mia and Rex crawled through a narrow duct choked with grime and time. Twice they paused, Rex tensing at distant motion, listening to ghosts. They emerged in a chamber full of outdated monitors and blinking consoles. It was control, but barely alive. Mia cleared debris off a workstation. Her hands trembled slightly as she pulled out the encrypted drive Klein had died protecting. She stared at it, then at Rex. We're really doing this. He gave a soft bark, as if to say, You're not alone. Then the radio crackled. Olivia's voice came through. We're in. Upload now. Mia inserted the drive. The screens flared. Lines of code poured across the monitors. A progress bar pulsed. 30 seconds. Then came the sound of boots. Too many. Mia spun, around and froze. A woman stepped in. Tall, military posture, blonde hair pulled tight. A faint scar along her jaw. Sergeant Mia Larson. I thought you'd be taller. Mia didn't recognize her. Who the hell are you? Director Elaine Whitaker, Homeland Security Liaison to Project Echo Strike, or what's left of it. Mia stepped between her and the console. Rex growled low. Shut it down, Whitaker ordered. No. Whitaker's tone stayed even. Do you know what you're destroying? Something built on kidnapping and modification. You erased people. Dogs. You erased Rex. Whitaker's jaw tensed. He was never supposed to survive. He was a prototype, a successful one, and you just handed him back to the wild. She raised her pistol. Rex lunged. Whitaker fired once, missing. Rex hit her center mass and drove her back into a control panel. Sparks exploded. Her scream was short. Mia rushed forward, pulling Rex off her. He was unharmed. Whitaker lay still. Smoke rose from the panel. Her gun skidded across the floor. The upload finished. Across the facility, lights dimmed. Then alarms screamed. A computerized voice blared, Data purge complete. Autonomous shutdown initiated. Evacuate immediately. Connor's voice cut through the radio. We're done here. Meet at exit Delta, now. Mia turned to Rex. Can you run? Rex barked once. Yes. They sprinted through collapsing halls. Fires bloomed in the walls. Behind them, doors slammed shut in sequence. Whatever had powered Echo Strike was devouring itself. They met Olivia and Connor at the old freight elevator. Just as they reached the shaft, a figure emerged from smoke. It was Whitaker. Burned. Bleeding. Still alive. She raised a second pistol. Olivia fired first. Whitaker dropped. They rode the elevator up in silence. As the sun rose, they stepped out into the woods, coughing smoke, bleeding, and alive. Mia dropped to her knees. Rex nuzzled her cheek, then laid his head across her lap. They had shut down a ghost. But what came next would haunt them all the same. Natalie's heart was still pounding as she and Rex drove back to the edge of town. The flash drive's contents had shaken her to the core. Coordinates, logs of unauthorized military activity, lists of names, including veterans like her. It wasn't just a hidden cabin. It was a staging point. For what, she wasn't yet sure, but the reach was bigger than she'd feared. Her phone vibrated. Unknown number. She let it go to voicemail. "Someone's watching us, Rex," she murmured, glancing in the rearview mirror. Nothing but trees. But her gut told her different. Rex stayed upright in the passenger seat, ears perked, eyes sharp. Always alert. Her partner. Instead of heading home, Natalie took a detour and pulled into the old lumber yard near the outskirts. It was abandoned, dusty with forgotten sawdust, a place no one would look for a Marine and a German shepherd. She needed time to process. She cracked open the laptop again and began scanning the files. Then something odd. A folder labeled Project Ember. Password protected. She tried her birthday. No dice. Rex let out a low growl. She looked up. A red laser dot danced across the wall. She dropped to the ground an instant before the shot pierced through the passenger side window. Glass exploded. Rex barked violently and launched over the console, teeth bared. Another shot, this time at the driver's door. Natalie rolled under the dashboard, grabbed the Glock from her boot holster, and peered out. She spotted a dark silhouette about 50 yards out, using the edge of the sawmill conveyor as cover. Whoever it was had a suppressor and wasn't interested in taking her alive. Rex sprinted out the other side of the truck, zigzagging low to the ground. Natalie burst from the cab and laid down cover fire. The figure ducked. That's when Rex pounced. The man screamed as Rex locked his jaw onto the attacker's forearm, tearing him from his perch. Natalie charged forward and pinned him. She pulled the ski mask off. It was the same man from the cabin footage. The one who had visited the compound. Younger than she expected. Military haircut, dog tags still around his neck. "Who sent you?" she barked, gun pressed to his temple. "You don't know what you've found." He hissed. "Try me." He smirked. "It's not about you. It's about what Rex saw." That stopped her. "What do you mean?" But he didn't answer. He suddenly jerked hard against Rex's grip, triggering a small device in his fist. A sharp beep. Natalie dove back. The warehouse behind them lit up in a burst of flames. The heat seared her back as she shielded her eyes. Rex yelped, knocked sideways by the shockwave. The man was gone, swallowed by the fire or the shadows. Natalie coughed, dragging Rex to his feet. "Come on, boy, we're not done." They didn't go home. She drove straight to the local sheriff's office. Sheriff Tim Wallace had served with her father in Desert Storm and trusted her. He opened the doors after hours. "You look like hell," Tim said, eyes narrowing as he saw Rex's burned side. "Because hell found me," Natalie replied, tossing the flash drive on his desk. They plugged it in. The files loaded. Tim's face blanched. This implicates people in the State Guard, contractors, local PD, Natalie. This is bigger than us." "I know. That's why I need backup. Not just local." Tim leaned back, exhaled. "I'll make a call to someone I trust in D.C. You're not safe here anymore." Natalie nodded, eyes on Rex, who was licking a gash on his leg. "Neither is Rex." Just then, the station lights flickered. A thump echoed from the back door. Rex stood up, snarling. Natalie drew her sidearm. They weren't alone. The thump at the back door wasn't just noise. It was a message. Natalie crept toward it, weapon drawn, every muscle taut. Rex moved in perfect sync, low and silent. She signaled for him to circle around. Another thud, this time closer. Sheriff Tim reached for his own weapon, but Natalie shook her head. "I've got this," she whispered. She flung open the door. Empty, or so it seemed. Then a voice cut through the dark. "You always were too curious for your own good, Sergeant Blake." Natalie froze. The voice belonged to someone she hadn't heard in years, Colonel Mason Drake, her former commanding officer. A man she once admired, trusted. She stepped out into the alley. There he was, half in shadow, flanked by two men in plain tactical gear. His eyes locked onto hers like steel. "You!" she said, stunned. "You're behind this." "Not behind," he replied, stepping forward. "Above." Before she could react, the two men moved in. Rex was faster. He tackled the first one, sending him crashing into a pile of crates. Natalie spun and fired at the second. The man dropped instantly. Colonel Drake didn't flinch. He simply raised his hand. From a black van down the block, more men emerged. Natalie cursed under her breath. "How deep does this go?" "As deep as you let it," Drake said. "But you brought Rex into it. That was your mistake." Rex growled, blood staining his shoulder, still standing, still defiant. "You know what that dog saw," Drake added, "and if it gets out, everything falls." Natalie didn't move. She calculated distance, angles, cover. No way to take them all. Not here. "Why the cabin?" she asked. "Why plant evidence where a dog could find it?" Drake almost smiled. It was never supposed to be found. The cabin was decommissioned until Rex disobeyed orders. Natalie's eyes widened. "Rex was yours?" He was assigned to Operation Ember, embedded, trained to respond only to high-priority threats. He was meant to die when the cabin burned. Natalie's heart twisted. "You tried to kill him." "I tried to protect the mission," he replied coldly. "You don't understand what's at stake." "You're right, I don't understand betrayal." She lifted her weapon. But before she could fire, a siren wailed. Sheriff Tim's backup had arrived. Drake's men hesitated. Natalie took the chance. She grabbed Rex and dove behind the dumpster as bullets erupted. Tim returned fire from the station doorway. The ambush collapsed in chaos. Drake disappeared into the van as it screeched off, tires spinning. Natalie emerged, panting, gun still hot. Rex limped beside her but didn't falter. Tim ran to them. "Are you both all right?" "No," she said honestly. "But we're alive." She pulled Tim aside. "Drake's involved, top brass. This goes all the way up. We need federal help, now." Tim nodded grimly. "I've got a buddy at the DOJ. I'll call him." Natalie looked at Rex, brushing ash from his fur. "You good, soldier?" Rex nuzzled her side gently. Back inside the station, they reviewed the footage from the flash drive again. One frame stood out. A timestamp from 6 months ago. Rex was there, in uniform, next to Drake, at a base she didn't recognize. But there was something else. Coordinates embedded in the metadata. Not just a cabin. A site. A buried facility. Natalie leaned in. "That's where they're hiding the rest of it. The answers. The proof." Tim stared. "You're not seriously thinking of going there." "I'm not thinking," she said. "I'm done thinking." That night, Natalie and Rex left town. No goodbyes, no map, just the coordinates, a backpack, and each other. They drove east, into the foothills, following trails no GPS could find. Every bump in the road made Rex wince, but he never whimpered, never slowed. By dawn, they stood at the edge of a frozen forest. Natalie checked the map. "This is it, 20 miles in." Rex wagged his tail once and started walking. As the trees swallowed them whole, Natalie knew one thing for sure. This wasn't just about secrets anymore. It was about justice. For Rex, for the soldiers betrayed, for herself. And nothing, no uniform, no badge, no rank, was going to stop her now. Natalie trudged through the frozen forest, frost clinging to her lashes, breath coming in tight bursts. Rex kept pace beside her, his paw prints trailing behind like loyal echoes. Every step deeper into the woods sent a chill through her spine, and not just from the cold. According to the flash drive, the facility was buried somewhere in this remote area, not listed on any map. No trails, no markers, just coordinates and ghosts. They reached a clearing marked by rusted fencing, mostly overtaken by brush and snow. Rex stopped short, ears alert. Natalie knelt, brushing away the snow to reveal a concrete hatch beneath. "Here goes nothing," she muttered. It took everything she had to pry the hatch open. The air that escaped was stale, mechanical. Rex didn't hesitate. He leapt in first. Natalie followed, dropping into a narrow stairwell lit by flickering emergency lights. The corridor below was cold, metallic, humming with old energy. Every footstep echoed off the walls. They passed empty labs, torn wires, evidence of hasty abandonment. But the deeper they went, the more intact things became. Security doors, surveillance cameras still operational, computers humming. Natalie slipped into what looked like a command room. Rex sniffed a cabinet and barked once. Inside was a row of sealed drives. She took them, but something about the room didn't feel right. A screen blinked on. Drake's face appeared. "I knew you'd come," he said calmly. Rex always knew the way. Natalie froze. "You're watching us." "Not just watching. I invited you. This whole thing, it was meant to bring you here." She backed away, eyes darting. "You wanted justice," he continued. "Here it is. Data, files, evidence. It all leads to one name. Mine. And that's exactly what I wanted." Rex growled. "You think exposing me will save anyone? I am the last wall. You break me and the entire machine comes crashing down." "Chaos!" Natalie hissed. "Then maybe it needs to crash." She smashed the monitor with her elbow. Alarms blared. Rex barked frantically and ran ahead. She followed him through a maze of corridors until they burst into a cavernous hangar. Black SUVs tactical gear, crates marked with military insignias, and a helipad. A man stood in the middle. Not Drake, someone younger. A tech, maybe. Shaking. "Take it," he said, holding out a duffel. "Everything you need to expose them is inside. I couldn't do it, but you still believe in something." Natalie hesitated, then took the bag. But just as they turned to leave, the hangar doors screeched open. A full strike team stormed in. Rex snarled. Natalie raised her weapon. They were outnumbered, pinned, until gunfire erupted from behind the strike team. Sheriff Tim. He and a few deputies flanked the squad, catching them off guard. "Figured you could use a hand?" he shouted. Natalie smiled. "Took you long enough." The firefight was brutal. Smoke, shouting, chaos. Rex tore through their ranks like a shadow with teeth. Natalie moved like a ghost, dropping threats with clinical precision. The tech huddled behind a crate. When the dust settled, Drake was nowhere in sight. But the files were real. The evidence, damning. Natalie looked down at Rex, blood on his snout, tongue lolling. "Let's end this." Together they walked out into the dawn, the bag of truth in hand. Natalie didn't hesitate. She and Rex moved in sync, like they had in Afghanistan. As the thump echoed again, she kicked over the rolling chair and crouched behind it, sidearm trained on the back corridor. Rex growled, low and lethal. Sheriff Tim reached for the rifle behind his desk. The door burst open. Two figures dressed in tactical black stormed in, suppressed weapons raised. But they hadn't counted on Rex. He lunged first, fangs sinking into the thigh of the lead attacker. The man buckled with a cry. Natalie fired, striking the second man in the shoulder. Tim tackled the first down hard, cuffing him with his own zip ties. Breathing heavy, Natalie glanced toward Rex, who stood protectively between them and the hallway, teeth bared, hackles raised. "They're not local," Tim muttered, eyeing the combat boots and unmarked gear. Natalie picked up one of the radios the intruders had dropped. There was static, then a voice. "Echo 1, status check. Package must not reach DC. They knew," she whispered. "They knew where we'd go." "We can't stay," Tim said. "Grab the drive. I'll get the SUV 10 minutes later. They were burning rubber down a back road." Natalie cradled Rex in the back seat, pressing gauze against a reopened wound on his shoulder. He licked her wrist, eyes alert. "We're almost there, buddy," she whispered. They reached a federal airstrip by dawn. Tim's contact, Special Agent Mia Alvarez, waited near a blacked-out jet. "You weren't kidding," Mia said, as Natalie handed over the flash drive. "We've suspected parts of this for months. You just lit the fuse." Mia reviewed the files in silence. Then, This connects Black Ops funding, trafficking through abandoned bases, even weaponized dogs for private contracts." Natalie nodded. "They tried to make Rex one of them. But he's not a weapon. He's family." Rex nudged Mia's hand, tail wagging once. She smiled. "He just might be the key to unraveling all this." Tim looked at Natalie. "You sure you're ready for this kind of spotlight?" She didn't blink. "This isn't about me. It's about the people they've hurt. And it's about Rex." The next week moved like a storm. Federal hearings, headlines, arrests, hidden files leaked to the press. Whistleblowers stepped forward. Natalie testified before a congressional panel. Her calm, battle-tested voice carried weight. And when she stepped out of the courthouse, Rex at her side in a new K9 vest marked with a silver badge, and the words, "Veteran Service Dog." Cameras flashed, but it was Rex who stole the attention. He stood tall, proud, unshaken. Later that night, back at the small cabin she now called home, Natalie knelt beside Rex. "We did it, boy. You led me to the truth." Rex gave a soft bark, then curled up at her feet. Natalie looked out into the trees, wind whispering through pine. "You're not just a hero, Rex. You're the reason I came back. And I think it's time the world knows what loyalty really looks like." She picked up her phone, recorded a quick video. "This is Rex. He saved my life. He saved others. And he's proof that loyalty, courage, and love come with 4 paws and a beating heart." She uploaded it. Within hours, it went viral. Thousands of comments poured in. From veterans, from kids, from people who'd lost hope, people who needed healing.